Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. In this video I'll be discussing some potential speculation about whether or not Pixar is currently developing a couple of different titles. So the first of these titles is upcoming Cars content, which could include Cars 4. The other one is about a potential Disney Plus series for Inside Out called Dream Productions. So starting off with the Cars series, back in December, I know there's a bunch of other channels have already covered this, so I'm a little bit late to the game, but nonetheless, here we are. So back in December, Jay Ward, who's a creative executive at Pixar, and he's the franchise guardian creative director of the Cars franchise, he said at an interview via the Late Break Show on YouTube that there are more Cars things brewing. I can't say much more yet. Cars has got a life that will keep going. I'm working on some real fun projects right now that you will see in a couple of years. It takes us a while to make them. So what could these projects be? The first thing that one might assume is Cars 4, which would be pretty logical. Because Cars is a very popular franchise. Cars 3 actually didn't do too great at the box office, but there's not really any question that made up for that in merchandise sales. And it recently got a Disney Plus series called Cars on the Road. A Cars 4, I think, is a bit likely because it's been a while since you've had a Cars movie, and the Cars movies, they are pretty much guaranteed merchandise hits, even if the box office is less certain. So I feel like if they're making more Cars content, they're probably going to want to put it on the big screen since it's been so long since the last time we had a Cars movie. And the Cars on the Road, I think that may not have actually performed too well on Disney Plus, and the reason why I think that is because back in mid 2023, Pixar had a round of layoffs. Angus McLean and Galen Sussman, they were the director and producer respectively of Lightyear. They got both laid off, and we know from the box office that Lightyear did really badly at the box office. And it was reported that Steve Purcell, who is the writer of Cars on the Road, and he also was the co-director and writer of Brave, and he was also the writer-director of Toy Story The Time Forgot before he did Cars on the Road, but he got laid off at the same time. So considering that Lightyear and Cars on the Road only came out a few months apart, it leaves you wondering, did Cars on the Road not perform too well on Disney Plus? So I think Cars on the Road. I don't think it was marketed very well at all. If I'm being honest, they had one trailer, and other than that, there's like hardly any marketing. So I think there could have just been that a lot of people just didn't know about it, or just in general. But streaming being so expensive these days, it's just people. Most people aren't having a ton of streaming services all the time. Like most people do what they call churning, so you only have one or two at a time, and you rotate which one that is every couple of months. So I think as more people are doing that, the streaming service is going to have to cut back on high budget original content. So I feel like that's a reason against why they might be doing a Cars of the Road season 2 as well, which would be the other possibility, which I guess it's possible, but I don't know. I know that Monsters at Work right now, that's currently airing on the Disney Channel, so I guess they could do something like that, because then at least they get more advertising revenue, and they get viewers who still use linear over Disney Plus. Or they did recently put season 1 up on YouTube back in the fall, and right now they're also posting the Mater Tall Tales to Disney Junior YouTube, and Monsters at Work season 2, that's actually going up the Disney Channel YouTube. So they could do something like that to get YouTube advertising revenue as well, in theory. And then the third option that this could potentially be is back when Cars on the Road came out, there was some merchandise that seemed to have indicated something about the Rusty's Racing Center returning. So I think there's a good chance that may have been a deleted episode that somehow still made the merchandise cut, but didn't actually make the series cut. So I think there's definitely a possibility they could do something like Carl's Date, where they release it a couple of years after the actual series came out. So for those who aren't familiar, Carl's Date is an episode of the Doug Day series, except it was released nearly 2 years after the rest of the Doug Days episodes, and it played theatrically in front of Elemental. So the next original Pixar movie is Elio, which is coming out in June of 2025. Unfortunately, that got delayed by over a year. I talked about that in my first news video a bit. So I feel like if they're doing the Rusty's Racing Center episode but doing it later, I feel like they could pull a Carl's Date and put it in theaters in front of Elio. Because then, I mean, even if it's not a lot, if you have a car short in front of the new original movie, there's going to be people who are seeing Elio just for the sake of the car short. I'd like to think that people would actually see Elio because Elio is good on its own merits. But I mean, but with so many animated movies and just movies in general that aren't sequels doing well in theaters these days, I mean, if you're making a car short, just why not take the extra revenue that you get from the Cars fans? With how everything is with theaters these days. The second unannounced Pixar title that is likely in production is a Disney Plus series called Dream Productions. which is something that presumably would tie into the Inside Out movies. So obviously, Inside Out 2 is opening in theaters in June. The release date may vary exactly by country, but in the US, it's hitting theaters on June 14th. So in Inside Out 2 will be introduced to new emotions, including anxiety, envy, ennui, and embarrassment. So you recall in the first Inside Out movie, in the middle of the movie, we went to a movie studio called Dream Productions, which is where all of Riley's dreams were essentially shot on film sets that a camera filter then converted into what she would see in her dreams. And they had directors and writers and actors and all mime workers who did all the stuff you normally find on a movie set. So we don't know if Dream Productions will be coming back for Inside Out 2, but we do know that Paula Pell, who voiced the Dream Production director, she will be back in Inside Out 2. They haven't officially confirmed who she will be voicing, although presumably she will be playing Mom's Anger for sure, because she also played her in the first movie, and we know that Mom's Anger will be back from the trailer. So it's unclear if she'll also be reprising the Dream director or not. But nonetheless, the series, based on LinkedIn profiles, it's called Dream Productions. So back a while ago, back when Inside Out 2 was announced, there was a report that Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader would not be returning because of financial reasons, and that they weren't being offered enough money to come back. And that hasn't officially been confirmed to be the reason or not, but that is the case, that Hader and Kaling are not returning, even though that wasn't officially confirmed at the time yet. And that same report also said that an Inside Out 2 big budget series for Disney Plus was in production at the same time, so. And you'd think that maybe that wouldn't necessarily be the case anymore with Disney Plus bleeding money, and in addition to what I talked about regarding Cars on the Road, it's also been reported that Pixar is having significant layoffs this year, potentially looking at 75 people, there's been numbers from 75 people to as much as 20% of Pixar staff. There's also been anonymous reports that people hired specifically for Disney Plus content are specifically being laid off as well, which is a sign that which could be interpreted as a sign that they are cutting back in Disney Plus content. As I talked about in the first part of this video about Cars, that Disney Plus content, some Disney Plus content, or really pretty much everything that isn't Marvel or Star Wars, has not been performing that well. So, and also take into account that Moana 2 was originally supposed to be a Disney Plus series as well. It does seem counterintuitive there may be another one. And then you also have Win or Lose, which is supposed to come out last December in 2023, and we don't even know when that's coming out. Now it's April 2024. It doesn't even have a release date, and it was supposed to come out 4 months ago, so. I mean, who knows what's going on with Disney Plus these days. But apparently this series is happening, at least according to some LinkedIn profiles. So for one LinkedIn profile, we have a guy named Will Ross, who was a production coordinator on the script team for an unannounced Disney Plus project released in 2024. So could that be Win or Lose? It's possible, because Win or Lose might be coming out in 2024 now, but probably not, because Win or Lose has been announced already, so he could just say it was Win or Lose probably, even though it no longer has an official release date. But the project itself was announced, so you could probably say if it was Win or Lose. So I'm ruling out Win or Lose for Will Ross. But they haven't announced any other Disney Plus projects for this year. So other than Win or Lose or this hypothetical Inside Out series, or not really hypothetical anymore, what else would you be left with? You'd be left with the Spark short, maybe an Inside Out short film akin to Riley's First Date, or other direct-to-video shorts that did back before Disney Plus. Maybe that Rusty's Racing Center short I talked about in the Cars section of this video. But my bet's based on other LinkedIn profiles with more details I was saying. It's probably this Inside Out series, Dream Productions. There's this other person, Chris Hayes. He was a senior production coordinator for Layouts, and he actually listed the name of the title, called Dream Productions. And not only did he list the name of the title, but in one of the bullet points talking about what he did on the show, he said he described it as an episodic series, which obviously that is not a movie. And obviously it's not a single short film either. So whether this is something like Dog Days or Cars on the Road, where it's like 6 to 8 minutes long, given the title of being Dream Productions, I definitely say that's probably a bit more on the likely side, because cheaper to make, plus production time based on details on it only seems to be a year long. So probably it's just a series of short films, just like Cars on the Road and Dog Days and Forky Asks a Question, which is fine. but I guess it is possible it could be a longer form series. I wouldn't say it's impossible. Moana was supposed to be a long form series before it became a movie. Moana 2, rather. Do have Monsters at Work, although that's technically not made by Pixar. That's Disney Television Animation. And production has, like, there's been, like, 2 or 3 years a season, so... Based on that, I'd say it's most likely a short form series. But, I mean, it's not officially confirmed. And then the last but not least person who has talked about this dream production on LinkedIn is Mike Leonard, who was a senior layout artist on a title called Dream Productions, which was listed as being in production, or at least releasing, between Elemental and Inside Out 2, because his list of projects that he's worked on is sorted for newest oldest, and this is in between Elemental and Inside Out 2. So going back to Haynes' LinkedIn, he said it was in production from March of 2023 to March of 2024, so it could be that Leonard's just listing it in the order things were completed. So as for the Dream Production series, when I'd expect to release, probably in the fall. I wouldn't expect it to be out before Inside Out 2 at all. If it was coming out before Inside Out 2, Inside Out 2 is being released in less than 2 months, so it would have been announced by now. I think this will be probably a D23 announcement from Pixar, and probably if I had to guess, either September or November release. Because past Disney Plus series from Pixar, like Dog Days and Cars on the Road, those have all been September releases, so it wouldn't surprise me if they do September. Or it could be November, just in time with the holidays. And before Disney Plus, the Pixar Blu-rays, they used to be released in November, so could be trying to time like that again. Or it could be that Inside Out, I know a lot of the movies recently, they've hit Disney Plus in 45 to 90 days. I think Inside Out 2, it's going to be a bit longer than that, because we have seen other films like Avatar and Indiana Jones. Those took like 6 months to come. Even Wish recently, that took a bit longer than usual, at 4 months. It actually came out after the Blu-ray even. So I think they are trying to extend the theatrical windows between the actual release date and streaming date, and try to get some money from video on demand and Blu-ray and DVD purchases. So it could be that they're going to try to tie it in with when the Inside Out 2 movie actually comes out on Disney Plus too, I think. Which I feel like September might be a little bit too soon with the new trends, but I could see it being an October or November release on Disney Plus, as opposed to Lightyear being August and Elemental being September. So let me know in the comment section below what you think of these potential productions coming out soon, the Dream Productions from Inside Out as an Inside Out series, and a potential Cars 4 movie or some other Cars content. What do you think about these projects potentially coming out? Would you watch them? And let me know in the comment section below what you think, and I'll see you soon for another video. Bye now.